Because the argument here is that white privilege definitely exists. But understand something. She is talking about writing checks at a grocery store. That is a long time ago. So let me be clear. White privilege most certainly was a thing. But it died long ago.
Okay. What is privilege? I'm not going to talk about whether white privilege exists or not, but I want to describe or talk about privilege. Because we are all privileged, at some point we are privileged, but it's just that our privilege varies in degrees. Take for example, let's look at our past, for example. And let me just make this illustration before we go there. Let's say there's a race, 4 contestants. One has no legs, one has one leg, one is racing with both legs but no shoes. One is racing with both legs, shoes, but is placed a kilometer away from the finish line. And one is racing with both legs, shoes, and only 100 meters from the finish line. The one who is racing 100 meters from the finish line is a white person. They have both parents. They grew up with both parents, went to good schools. They went went on holidays. They didn't have to struggle for food. They have grandparents who have inheritances, which is passed on from family to families. So the good family, good background. The one who's racing but with both legs, but only a kilometer away from the finish line, is a black man who comes from an okay background, not rich. They could not afford to go on holidays. They were not able to go to the good schools. Their parents were teachers or police, Then the one with no shoes but both legs came from a poor background, one income household. Mom was a domestic worker. They walked to school. They walked 5 kilometers. They just had to struggle. Then the one with one leg is one who grew up in absolute poverty. They grew up in a shack. The parents were not working. One parent was present. They struggled to even get a meal a day. And, they just literally had to beg, borrow, steal just to be able to eat. Then the one with no legs is the person with physical disabilities but grew up in absolute poverty on top of the physical disabilities. And now these people are supposed to race, or are in this race and are supposed to win this race. Now, privilege then comes in when the white contestant is judging the other contestants and calling them lazy and saying and labeling and doesn't understand why they are that. Not understanding the advantages that he has gained. Yes, he will say, I worked hard, I train, I make sure that I win the race. But if you don't factor in the other the other factors at play, then you will feel like these people are ridiculous and just complaining and they're like just stupid and lazy. But also on top of that, we have black people like the contestant who has been placed a kilometer away from the finish line, black people who criticize other black people forgetting that they are more privileged than those other black people. And you hear these with people who talk about, the way they talk is like, umdomnyama, black people, black people are so lazy. And this is coming from another black person. But they are forgetting that their experience and their level of privilege is different from the others. They don't see that the people that they are competing against are competing against somebody who had to run a race with no shoes on. They had to run a race with one leg. Then you'll wonder, why are they struggling to finish? Why are they struggling to make it in life? And we are so busy focusing and criticizing other people's experiences and invalidating other people's struggles. And you have no empathy, and you don't understand that this is what the systematic racism did. It crippled us. It crippled black people. And if you are talking from a point of criticism without understanding and without trying to walk in those people's shoes and providing solutions in how they can get out of that rut that they are in, then you're just spewing ignorance. But I feel that most of those people, like these guys who are criticizing most black people's experiences, is that they want to also gatekeep, because when you understand privilege is quite nice because it's an advantage, like I said, it's when we all equal and have to play the game fairly, we sort of lose that advantage over somebody. So you don't want, privilege is nice. It's not something you want to lose. I have experienced privilege at some point where I knew a friend who worked at Home Affairs, and it's a matter of just calling the friend, like, listen, I'm gonna come, get me in. And I would have to walk across people who have been queuing for hours. And that feels good to see that you didn't have to queue the line. You can just go in and get your things done and in and out. So there are people out there who want to gatekeep and who want to keep others out. And the truth of the matter is, we know that privilege is nice. It feels good when you have an advantage over somebody. It feels good when you are pretty and you are stopped by a traffic officer. So it feels good when you are a pretty woman and you are stopped by a police officer and you can use your pretty privilege to get yourself out of the ticket. It feels good when you have a good accent and you're trying to get a property in Cape Town, and you're trying to get a rental property and people are listening to you and giving you the letting you view. You're not giving the runaround. It feels good when you don't have to struggle like the others, so it's something that we would not ordinarily want to let go of. Oh, that's why we don't want to admit it, that it exists. But for me, all I'm saying is, let's not invalidate other people's experience. Try to walk in their shoes just for a day, or see from their perspective, and before you criticize and say that what they're experiencing is not real. Try offer solutions rather than criticizing.